America is the home to liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and the most mass shootings in the world. Here's what you need to know about gun violence in America. It is true that America sees many more mass shootings than these other developed countries. Between 2000 and 2014, there were 133 mass shootings in public populated areas. That excludes terrorism and gang violence. Of course, the U.S. is a much larger country, but if you adjust for population size, it still ranks higher. Of these developed countries, Finland is. Each of these squares represents a public mass shooting of 4 or more fatalities. Till 2004, they occur over 6 months apart on average. After the assault weapons ban of 1994 was let go by Congress in 2004, less than 2 months go by between them.
Our unalienable right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness, those rights were stripped from college kids in Blacksburg and Santa Barbara, and from high schoolers at Columbine, and from first graders in Newtown. First graders.
Public mass shootings always get the most attention because they are always brutal in nature. However, they only account for a small percentage of gun deaths in America. According to the CDC, 92 people are killed with guns every day on average in America. Of these, 30 are homicides, with 1 to 1.5 being considered mass shootings. The majority, at 58, are from suicide. The remaining 4 are a combination of accidents, police shootings, and unknown deaths. This shows up when compared to other countries too. These are the 10 countries ranked highest on development by the UN. The US has the highest suicide rate, and this darker bar shows how many are with guns. Some people think suicide isn't relevant to the gun issue. However, the methods used are very important because suicide attempts often stem from temporary crises, and the majority that survive suicide attempts don't end up dying from suicide. But with guns, those people never get a second chance. This correlation is even more apparent when looking at homicide rates across countries. This graph is adjusted for population size. The US would probably have a higher homicide rate even without guns, but you can see how guns, the black bar here, push that rate far above other countries. These victims are often not the ones you see on the national news. They are disproportionately young black men. Some say there is just more crime in the US, but if you set aside homicides for a moment and look at burglary or assault, you don't see the same spike that you see with homicide. It's that crime in the US is much more lethal. Altogether, all gun deaths from 2000 to 2013 exceeds the number of Americans killed by AIDS, both legal and illegal drug overdoses, the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, and terrorism combined. It should be clear by now that this level of gun violence is a uniquely American problem among developed nations. And here's why. There are a ton of guns in the United States. This chart shows the highest number of guns per country adjusted for population size, and it's still not even close. If you take a look at the countries with the highest human development, you can tell it is really easy to get a gun in the US. All of the other countries listed on this chart require a license, registration, a reason for purchase. Most require safety training and safe storage.
The US, none of those. This is the reason that the US is almost solely the only country where citizens are allowed to purchase assault rifles with almost no background checks. If you look at mass shootings and the deadliest shootings in America, they were all with assault rifles.
The AR-15 has become a common rifle for consumers, but it's also become a weapon of choice for mass shooters. These shooters have used them to kill dozens at an elementary school in Connecticut, a movie theater in Colorado, a concert in Las Vegas, and now at a church in Texas, among others. Some of the factors that make the AR-15 popular with consumers may also help explain why mass murderers have opted to use them too. They're capable of firing rounds that can go straight through a human body and penetrate a wall behind it. They're lightweight and easy to use. Since the muzzle doesn't rise up much, it doesn't take a lot of effort to bring it back down, acquire a proper sightline, and to fire again. A weapon that's already deadly can potentially be made more dangerous by adding things like foregrips, scopes, and red dot sights. The guns are expensive, but they're within reach. They cost between $500 and $900. The AR-15 model is basically a consumer version of military-grade assault rifles, such as the M16 or the M4 carbine. They look almost identical. The big difference? The AR-15 is semi-automatic. The M16 and M4 can be switched to automatic or burst. AR-15s were prohibited under the assault weapons ban from 1994 to 2004, but since that ended, sales have surged. AR-15s have been branded under the term modern sporting rifle, which gives a weapon designed for war a consumer-friendly label. The gun is also marketed for home defense, but although they're clearly strong enough to stop an intruder, critics say the AR-15 could also cause unintended damage or even death in untrained hands. One thing is clear, no matter who's using it, it can be an extremely lethal weapon.